If you live in a cave, you may not know about how Destiny is about to have a major expansion. You probably don't live in a cave though, so you probably know all about it. I'm going to take a chance and assume that you have all seen the 60-minute stream that Bungie did on Tuesday. This video will be all about what I think about the information that was presented, with a dash of advice on some things that you should probably do or not do before the Taken King goes live. The first thing that I want to talk about is about Year 1 weapons. Bungie appears to be doing everything they can to make Year 1 weapons irrelevant, with some minor exceptions. But that's okay with me. Why? Because I'm excited about the fact that I have to try and find new Taken King weapons that work great for me and my playstyle. Not only will I find this fascinating and exciting, but I have a feeling that I will have a ton of ideas about videos that I will want to create for this channel. You can expect a weapon review about once a week until I find a weapon that fits my playstyle, until I find a couple weapons that fit my playstyle. I might be throwing in a couple how-to videos here and there as well, like how to do some of the quests, how to do some of the bounties. So yeah, I'm super excited. So the current state of Destiny. This game, believe it or not, was beginning to become a bit stale for me. It used to be that I knew exactly what I wanted to do the next time I logged in onto a Destiny server. I knew what character I wanted to play with, I knew what activity I wanted to do, I knew which friends I wanted to party up with, but nowadays, I found myself waking up in the morning not knowing what I want to do. When the Taken King goes live, there will be a bunch of stuff to do. There's going to be all these new quests. There's going to be 3 brand new subclasses for me to rank up. There's going to be new bounties, not only from the Crucible and the Vanguard, but also Lord Shaxx and the freaking Gunsmith. There's going to be a bunch of story missions, a couple of strikes. There's going to be 3 characters that I'm going to have to get up to level 40. There's going to be a whole new destination to explore, and a 50-part exotic weapon to find in that destination. I'm excited about how I'm actually worried about how there might not be enough time to do everything I want to do. I haven't had that feeling with this game in a while. Anyway, I want to talk about the Bungie stream. You know, from the new Taken King Tower, some things that have piqued my interest. For one, the vault space. I'm sure this is piquing everybody's interest. This is going to be hugely important for 2 reasons. Number 1, weapons. And number 2, armor. For weapons specifically. And bear with me because I'm about to begin a pretty long logical trail. It's going to be a bit windy, so bear with me. For weapon vault space, this is a huge thing. And not just because we want to keep all our old stuff, because we do, right? We want to keep all old stuff. I got a Kavastov, I got the Stranger's Rifle, the Gallahorn, which is supposed to be irrelevant. But I get the feeling we are probably going to be dismantling weapons a lot less frequently than we are right now. After that House of Wolves came out, it seems like good weapons have been dropping a lot more often. And that's a fact for the Crucible. They even said that the weapon drop rate would be higher. And that's good because the new reforging capabilities. Reforging can be a pain because it could sometimes take a lot of reforging just to get the perfect roll that you want on your favorite weapons. And weapon parts were suddenly becoming like this endangered commodity. Like, oh my god, I need weapon parts. People were like buying rare engrams from the Cryptarch, decrypting them, dismantling them just to get weapon parts. So all these drops were great because we could dismantle them for weapon parts, and that's great. But watch out, because in the Taken King, it's looking like reforging is not going to be a thing, specifically for Taken King weapons. Instead, they have a new system called Infusion. And Infusion is where you sacrifice a higher level weapon that you'll find, and it has to be the Taken King, to increase the attack value of your favorite lower level weapon, which also has to be a Taken King weapon. This is not applicable for any Year 1 weapons. Well, since it may take a while for most Guardians to figure out what weapons they like the best and which ones they want to infuse, it's very likely that they will be stockpiling the higher level weapons that they just can't seem to work with instead of dismantling them. So yeah, it's good to have more vault space. And another thing about weapons, and this is a huge assumption, the Crucible, if it stays the same as Year 1, will continue to ignore level advantages. What does that mean? That means you're not going to need the new Taken King higher attack level weapons to be successful. Weapons will be averaged out based off of base stats while ignoring their attack values. So if that's the case, a lot of Guardians are going to be even more likely to keep their favorite Year 1 Crucible weapons, specifically for PvP. For me, that's a ton of weapons. I love using several of the primary hand cannons, scout rifles, pulse rifles, a lot of the sniper rifles, even some of the heavies like Jolder's Hammer and Against All Odds, or, maybe the Galahorn or Truth, even though Truth's going to be able to get advanced in the Taken King. I will not be getting rid of these weapons. My 123 Syzygy, or my Messenger, Hopscotch Pilgrim, or my Her Benevolence, or my LDR 5001. None of those are going away because they work in the Crucible and I'm comfortable with them and I love them. So there's another reason why double the vault space is awesome. On to armor. With all the new armor perks that are floating around, I believe it would be dumb to just have one set of armor. Like right now in PvE, I pretty much just have one set of armor. If I'm running my Warlock, let's say, I'm going to be running Obsidian Mine as a Voidwalker, unless I'm running the Solar Warlock, in which case I'll have Heart of Praxic Fire or something like that. But I'm pretty much just going to have one. Sometimes I'll have two sets of armor. Like for the Crota's End raid, I'll have those boots that give me a more agility in case I have to go clutch the sword, which has never happened. But anyway, about the armor. Some of the more addicted Guardians, and I say addicted because I mean Guardians who play the game way more than a casual would, way more than I would. Some of the more addicted Guardians, with the current state of the game, have a bunch of armor combinations based on how they are playing the game. It's not just Crucible loadout and PvE loadout. I'm talking about different loadouts for individual stages of a raid or a strike. It's crazy. They have a ton of armor loadouts. Now with the Taken King, with the new armor loadouts, those addicted Guardians are going to have even more specialized armor. An example, there's armor that increases your defense against solar burn. So why would you equip this armor during void burn? The answer is you wouldn't. Furthermore, it would be dumb to not equip that armor on a nightfall where you have solar burn. So as you can imagine, with 3 possible burn modifiers, it's not just 3 because you'll have rainbow burn, it would be in a Guardian's best interest to keep a set for each modifier. So therefore, more armor vault space is a definite must. So it's a good thing that they're doubling it. Actually, they're more than doubling it. So the only question after all this is, how long before Guardians start asking for more vault space after the Taken King is released? Because it's going to happen. You know it is. There's never going to be enough vault space. Whew! So I guess I've had a lot of talk about vault space, but I'm going to go ahead and move on. One of the other things I'm excited about is how there is no limit to legendary marks. That's the combination of Crucible and Vanguard marks. That is a huge deal for me. I am usually capped out on all 3 characters for the Crucible by Wednesday. That gets annoying. So it's awesome how there's no longer a weekly cap on marks, and there is, however, a cap on how many marks you can have on your wallet, is what they call it. Hey, you have a 200 cap on your wallet. But that's okay too, because before, where you couldn't really spend your marks on anything except for weapons that you didn't want and maybe materials, which you had a ton of. Now you can spend it on a whole bunch of stuff. You're going to want those weapons anyway because of the new infusion process, which is great because that's going to help you get your lower level weapons that you found up to that higher level. Huge improvement on the previous system. Oh, and that 200 cap, that's just like Glimmer. It's accessible from any character. Also, reputation. I am so glad that XP from bounties will no longer be exclusive to whatever class item you have equipped for a specific faction. That's great news. You can now earn rep for Dead Orbit and the Crucible and the Vanguard, depending on which bounty you're turning in. Speaking of the Crucible, I am glad that Bungie has finally learned that a significant portion of the Guardian population would just rather prefer to play the Crucible over the PvE. That's me. I would prefer to do Crucible any day of the week than go into a Nightfall. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I enjoy the occasional Nightfall so I can get the loot. But with the new Lord Shaxx bounties, Guardians have an opportunity on a weekly basis per character to get a Nightfall level reward just playing in the Crucible. Yeah, you got to complete the bounties, and they can be a little bit tough. But in reality, if you're a true Crucible player, it's not going to be that tough. So thank you, Bungie. Don't get me wrong. I'll still play occasional PvE, but I'm so glad that I get to play in the Crucible and get those rewards. So, with all the stuff I've been reading about Bungie's 60-minute stream. I've only really got a couple of things to say in the arena of advice. First of all, and I'm sure you've heard this from other more well-known YouTube channels, don't dismantle anything until Taken King goes live. I won't go into why, just watch those other YouTubers. I'll just tell you that Bungie has said this would be a very bad idea to dismantle anything before the Taken King goes live. Okay, the second thing. Make sure all of your characters have maxed out Crucible and Vanguard marks before the Taken King goes live. This will result in you getting the maximum number of commendations that you can use for a number of things. So the Taken King. I get the feeling that the Taken King is what Bungie originally wanted this game to be. It ended up being a beta in the first year, but now it's turning into a real game. It just took them a year to get there. It took them a while, but they're there. After all the feedback from the community, we're there, I think. I hope. I'm counting on it, actually. I hope it's not a big letdown. But that's all the time I have for today. If you could leave a comment in the comment section about what you're excited about with the Taken King, that would be great, and I'll see you next time. Adios.
Only 1 minute left. Zone C lost. Lost the lead. Enemy captured Zone C. You've lost them all. They've got total control. They've almost won. I know that's not the best you've got. Now do it again.